I almost bought an EarthRoamer for $600,000, but instead we bought an RV park. I have been extremely interested and fell into this on some weird rabbit hole YouTube, you know what we all do at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was looking at RVs actually, and I was looking at overlanding vehicles, and I was thinking, wow, it'd be so great to have an RV for us to kind of, you know, be mobile, not have to worry about hotels when we're out checking on real estate, looking at properties as we kind of explore the Pacific Northwest. And I fell in love with a vehicle called an EarthRoamer. EarthRoamer is a vehicle out of Colorado that's built on a Ford F550, and there's been a lot of people that have tried to replicate their build, but they are the one and true authentic builder of what are called adventure vehicles that really sell mainstream. There are a handful of other builders, but they built a reputation. They've been doing it for almost 20 years, and this is basically a four-wheel drive adventure vehicle truck built on, like I said, a Ford F550, so it's a full 2-ton platform, and then they built basically an RV, so you really, the ideal is that you can travel off-grid, you don't have to be plugged in, you can go four-wheel drive, you can take it off-road, and the more I started looking at them, the more I got into them, the more I really wanted to buy one. And it was not something that Lynn was a fan of, but she did reluctantly agree to go to Boise, Idaho with me to take a look at our first EarthRoamer in person, where we decided, or at least I had decided, that if it was what I thought it was, that, you know, we were gonna take one home. We started there, took our trip to Boise, flew into Boise and decided to head up. And as we were going through it, I could just tell Lynn's mood, her frame of mind was not super positive. So we talked a little bit about it. We spent, I think, the first day in Boise, and then we were gonna go up and look at it the next day, and she just asked me, she said, Tim, if you're really gonna buy an EarthRoamer, can we at least look at property that is in the same price point? And though, for those of you that don't know, these EarthRoamers run really anywhere from $200,000 to new $750,000. And the particular EarthRoamer we were looking at was priced right at $605,000. So I reluctantly agreed and said, okay, fine, let's take a look. And so we kind of did a quick search on Redfin or Realtor.com, and we basically took everything that was $650 or less. We both have agreed that we wanted to look at something after learning the lessons from the studio and multiple properties on one piece of land, that we wanted an RV park or something in that vein. So with that, we found two. We found one in Boise that we drove to that was absolutely a no-go. It was only on maybe, I don't know, a quarter acre if that, and there was only 3 units, and it was in the middle of town, so that definitely wasn't what we were looking for. And then we found this tiny little town in Idaho City where they had a trailer park for $650,000. So we made the drive, 45 minutes, headed up, and when we got there, it looked not as nice as the pictures, and we already knew it wasn't nice looking at the pictures. But as we walked around it, and we looked at it, and we visualized it, and we just, I think, got in the car after about 20 minutes, and we just looked at each other, and I said, okay, if we buy this, can I buy my EarthRoamer later? And she said, absolutely. So we decided to put it in an offer, made an offer. Wasn't accepted at first. We had to negotiate, did some negotiating. Ended up right at $610,000 after the inspection. It was $635,000, and then there was an inspection, and there were some things that came up. We renegotiated down to $610,000. But long story short, here we are. So we're the owners of this park, and we are looking forward to revitalizing it, putting our footprint on it, and seeing where this goes. So as we walked through the trailer park and we looked at, you know, it's in a huge state of disrepair. The manufactured homes that are there can definitely not stay. But we kind of knew that, and we didn't talk about it. We just walked it together, looked at the flyer, and then we walked it. We didn't want to intrude because people were obviously living there. But we just kind of silently checked it out, and we didn't really comment to one another. But I know that what we both thought, and we realized this after we sat there and talked about it together, was we realized the location was perfect. It's right on Highway 21, a lot of traffic, a lot of people coming through. We realized that would give us a different, more exposure than we have versus being dependent on a platform. So we knew that. We knew there was also a commercial building, and we didn't, and still don't to this day, know how we'll monetize that, but we knew that there's an opportunity to do more than just tiny homes or whatever we're gonna put on it. And I just think it felt the size of something that we could wrap our heads around. You know, I think if it was something that would have been 2 or 3 or 5 acres and trying to imagine, 15, 20, 25 units, I think that would have been more than we could wrap our head around, but 6 or 7 felt like, it felt like something we could do. And neither of us really knew that until we started talking about it in the car. And, our biggest thing was realizing, okay, with the price point, we'll have to figure out tiny homes. We'll have to figure out how to renovate this main house. It's definitely not in good shape, but we felt like this is something we can work with. And, just like it is with a tiny house or a tiny space, the smaller the space, obviously the less expense it is to actually, complete the project, so to speak. So this felt like something we could get on board with, and it felt like something that we could wrap up sooner than later. So for us, it just felt like a pretty natural progression, and ironically, I was totally willing to let the EarthRoamer idea go and say, hey, this is the new project and let's get on board, and this is certainly going to make us money versus costing us money if I would have bought an EarthRoamer. So over the next 6 to 9 months, we're going to take this, turn it into a series, and we're going to walk you through the process that we're going to do, which is brand new for us. We've definitely only have experience in taking homes that were already pre-built and renovating them and creating them and turning them into properties that we put on Airbnb, VRBO, etc. Whereas this is going to be a project where we are actually starting from scratch. There are current manufactured RV homes there that we will be either selling or demolishing or something, and from that we will start with the empty land, and we're going to work on creating hopefully some really cool tiny spaces and putting together an overall aesthetic and an idea of really kind of a tiny home hotel. It's got an 1,800 square foot commercial building, and we haven't quite figured out how we're going to incorporate that into our plan, but we're going to basically turn all this into a stopping point for folks that are looking to either use our area as a kind of a base camp to all the activities that go on, or might be passing through one way or another, either headed to Boise or headed out, and we will share with you what that will look like along the way. We'll break this up into videos where you will see our progress and the different challenges we're going to face undoubtedly as we continue the build. You can check it out in this video here.